Since the release of Kingdom Hearts 2 back in 2005, many fans have been clamoring for Kingdom Hearts 3, and now it's finally here and it was worth the wait. The adventure is full of breathtaking locations, diverse and incredibly designed enemies and bosses, and a soundtrack that mixes together old and new musical scores. The animation is beautiful and the combat is exceptionally designed to complement the new movements available to Sora. The narrative is complex, and those diving into Kingdom Hearts 3 will have a difficult time understanding the game's story, but those who stick with the adventure despite the complicated lore will find one of the best action-adventure games of this generation. The story of Kingdom Hearts 3 starts off simple. Sora, following the events of Dream Drop Distance, has lost most of his abilities and powers and must reclaim them, including the power of Awaken, to take part in the upcoming Keyblade War, a conflict that will determine the fate of all worlds and the balance between light and darkness. The narrative becomes increasingly more complicated, and those without prior knowledge of past games will become lost. Square Enix has included both optional content and in-game information to help deliver key points to the player, but unless you do some research, players will find themselves confused. This isn't the player's fault, as the game's developers are self-aware of this, making jokes about them having to cover long histories of each character and making sense of everything that's transpired. Perhaps one of the most confusing exclusions in Kingdom Hearts 3 was the exclusion of Final Fantasy characters. Confirmed in past interviews, the director Tetsuya Nomura stated that this decision was made to focus on the original cast, and while some Final Fantasy characters were in past games for fan service, some major roles were played by these same characters. Final Fantasy VIII Squall was the first major figure that Sora encountered during the first Kingdom Hearts game that told him about the Keyblade, and Final Fantasy VII's Cloud was a major figure in Sora's understanding of fighting the darkness in one's heart. These were friends of Sora that helped fight against the Heartless and trained the warrior into what he is today. Seeing them gone into what is the most important game in the entire franchise is shocking and bewildering. Combat in Kingdom Hearts 3 is definitely the high point, with the combat system being built and expanded on from Birth by Sleep and Dream Drop Distance's mechanics. Sora is required to keep up a sense of momentum using speed and defense to build up combos to perform specialized command actions based on what type of Keyblade he's using and what characters are inside his party. This can include magical attacks or Disney ride attractions, each one devastating and paramount to succeeding against the hordes of enemies. Sora will fight a wider range of enemies ranging from heartless to notorious Disney villains. Each one is intricately designed to complement the world in which Sora is currently in. You'll find distinct and common enemies littered throughout each world, each ending with an outstanding boss fight. Flow motion makes a return that allows Sora to wall kick, spin on poles, and slide on rails with unique attacks linked to each action. Unlike Dream Drop Distance, the developers have reduced the damage and effectiveness of these attacks, but not too much not to be effective, just that you can exploit the actions as in the previous games. Players will need to combine floor motion attacks with magic, Keyblade form changes, and other attacks to ensure victory. Summons have returned, but are used as link attacks. However, like past Kingdom Hearts games, the summons are lackluster in terms of damage compared to other attacks. Using them usually involves wasting time and magical powers that could be better utilized for other more effective attacks. The lock-on system can also be problematic since it links to a specific enemy but doesn't always keep the camera in a locked position behind Sora. Having the enemies fly out of view is a common and vexing problem. Sora can now swap between multiple Keyblades, allowing the player to quickly access specific weapons with better damage or magical attacks. You can further upgrade Keyblades you prefer using the synthesis system, which Square Enix has kept the stats of each weapon within reason so players don't just equip the strongest version of a weapon and encourage the use of each variation. The rest of the RPG system is basic and effective, getting levels to earn action points that can be spent on different abilities and tactics, and equipped in armor and accessories with unique bonuses. Gummy ship combat has returned, but with an open world perspective. Instead of an on-rail segment where you shoot hordes of enemies, players now explore an enclosed space full of enemies and treasures to boost your gummy ship level for new ships. Players can choose from pre-built options or design their own. More emphasis has been put on gummy ship combat with tight controls and large-scale battles. Leveling is separated from the ground combat, and players will need to dedicate time to gaining experience and unlocking new ships to take on the more powerful enemies. Thankfully, leveling and earning ships is pretty fast, so you won't have to grind extensively for parts and experience. Kingdom Hearts 3 is a beautiful game. Almost everything in the menus pulse with animation, and the detail in every environment, character model, and item shows that the team took extensive time with everything. The amount of polish is staggering at times, with tiny details such as the command menu changing when Sora switches keyblades, or Goofy's shield having moving pieces often overlooked until the player notices. Even after 20 hours, I was floored of how graphically impressive this game was. The soundtrack uses a combination of old and new musical scores. The Kingdom Hearts franchise is known for having an outstanding musical score, and here it's no different. The combination of iconic and new tracks help give this adventure a distinct and nostalgic feeling throughout. Kingdom Hearts 3 is an outstanding game from start to finish. The story will require more dedication to understand and fully appreciate each one of the many characters. However, the strong combat system will keep gamers engaged until the end. Finding your way through the iconic Disney worlds and meeting characters within these realms is still amazing, even if the Final Fantasy characters have been removed from the experience. Kingdom Hearts 3 is one of Square Enix's best games, and I highly recommend it to anyone who enjoys action-adventure games.